And we'll do our
All right.
intros as well. Hold on one second, and I
Okay.
have to go live. Now, why is it not letting me go live? Oh, there it goes. I see it. Oh, there it goes. It's live. I think
Hey.
you can confirm if it's up on Instagram. You can go ahead and check and see for me. Hey, Ramsey, Dr. Gardner, welcome.
What's going on? I'm glad I'm here.
Welcome. I'm so excited that you were able to join. I know it was kind of last minute. We're trying to get all the experts in here and do our own little live to kind of showcase.
No, we're making it work. I love it.
So I really, really, truly want to thank you. We're streaming live on, and let me know if I'm freezing or anything because my Wi-Fi. But we are streaming live on YouTube as well as on Instagram for everyone to see. So I'll have you, like share your information and all of that. But I want to give a little background about you for those who do not know. Dr. Gardner is a medical doctor in the state of California, and he has created a company where he partners with nurses and nurse practitioners and supporting them with launching their own aesthetic practices. And you have been a physician, and I'll let you just give a little intro about your background as a physician and then kind of segue that into your role in partnering with nurses.
Yeah. So, again, thanks for having me. I'm an internal medicine trained physician. I have been doing internal medicine for about 4 years out of residency now. But about 2 years out of residency, I started kind of realizing that there was this other path in aesthetics, injections, and all kinds of things you can do in a med spa that could potentially allow you to do things that are more and have a different type of I guess I say sheen to it than people who are already really chronically ill that I see on a regular basis in internal
Mhm.
medicine. So that's what kind of got me into this space and trying to create a different kind of reality, I guess, for people who are trying to get into it, for, whether it be doctors or nurses.
Love it. And you said you've been a physician for how long?
So a physician, I mean, med school was uh, about 10 years ago, something crazy, I think. But residency, you have to go through residency and all the things. So residency was 4 years this ago. To
Okay.
finish
All
that
right.
up.
Awesome. And
The end of the
so,
journey.
uh, okay, and let me know if I'm freezing. Y'all bear with us because for some reason my Wi-Fi want to act up on today. So
I
let me
think
know
it's
if I'm
lagging
freezing.
just a little bit, but yeah, it's okay.
Like, okay. Sorry about that, you guys. You can come over on YouTube and watch us as well on Sidepreneur_nurse. Hopefully it'll pick up, y'all. Bear with us. Anyway, okay, so you now partner with nurses and tell us a little bit about like the name of your company and exactly what you are doing, and then I'll dive into the actual interview of it all in a bit. But tell
All
us
right.
a little bit about your actual company.
Okay, so my company's name is Collaborative Aesthetic Partners. So I really right now have been focusing on medical directorship, but the overall goal of the company in general is to get nurses, nurse practitioners, and physicians to be able to connect and collaborate in order to create their own med spa, their own business, be entrepreneurs together, and kind of get rid of this. I feel like it can almost be a bit adversarial, the relationship between doctors and nurses, um, almost. But I like the idea of kind of removing that some of the stigmas that we have surrounding our respective specialties, and then also being able to work together to kind of create something different for our patients. So that's what the idea of the company is. Eventually, I would like it to be a really easy, simple way for both parties to get into aesthetics.
I love that. And so essentially you're partnering with nurses who are looking to enter into this space and working with them. And do they have to have a certain amount of experience, or who kind of where do they need to be on their journey before they start working with you?
So usually it's newer nurses that I'm people who are starting out in aesthetics, trying to open their own spa,
Mhm.
but people who have also done their own homework in regards to, they've already done some courses on how to inject Botox, how to open their own business. They've already kind of had a business mindset about things, and they're taking it seriously as a business. So that would be who I'm looking to work with. So if they're just kind of fresh out of, getting their RN or MP, and this is kind of still a maybe, then I would want them to kind of tease things out and get some
Mhm.
training in space before we start working
Mhm.
together. But that's usually who I
Mhm.
end up working with, people starting out.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. But are you willing to work with those who may have more experience? Maybe they've
Of
even
course.
worked as an injector and are looking to partner with you.
Yeah, that's an easier path in some ways as well. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I love it. Okay. All right. Well, I have some questions. I know your time is valuable, Dr. Gardner. So I
No, it's
want to
okay.
make sure that I wrote my questions down. And so I want to ask you some questions. Of course, you know my market and who I serve is nurses and nurse practitioners who are interested in launching their practice. And I help them do that from zero to launch through my program. And so having you on is definitely valuable because what I find that a lot of nurses and nurse practitioners who need collaborating physicians or medical directors, what they struggle with is like, how do I find someone who is going to be supportive of my business, still understand that I am going to grow the business, but I need that partnership, right? In order to make it actually happen from a
Yeah.
regulatory perspective, but also just because a lot of times they don't have a lot of experience in business, right? And so those are the
Mhm.
people I work with. So all the questions I have for you is around them and like from
Okay.
their perspective,
Yeah.
okay? All right,
Yeah.
so the first question I have for you is there are many aspiring owners and they're really unsure about how to even find a medical director. Like they
Mhm.
may watch this live and they're like, oh, he seems great, but like, how do I find a him either in my state or, wherever I am? So I want you to give a couple of actionable steps that you think nurses and nurse practitioners should take who are looking to work with a medical director or collaborating physician.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is a big hurdle that people have to jump. And the thing is, a lot of times people work with, they end up being friends with or work with the doctor next to them, and sometimes they try to get that person to be their medical director, which is something that could work out if you're kind of using a business mindset,
Mhm,
business approach with it. Um, you really just want to find someone who's interested in this. That's the thing. Like, I find this quite interesting. I spend my free time thinking about this and figuring out how I can fit into the space.
mhm,
Someone who's interested in it would do trainings. They be at conferences. They're willing to really try to understand what this is on their
mhm,
own volition. But if you feel like you're like dragging someone through it, then I don't know if that would be the best situation to be in, because they kind of need to want it for themselves.
mhm,
And then from there, I think if you have someone who's organically interested in it, then you can work through a lot of the regulations and learn where things should be and shouldn't be, and work a business deal together. But
mhm.
it should look like a business deal and not like two friends just trying to throw something together so that they can
Yeah.
make something on the side. Because that's where the regulations kind of get really upset about, like from the state level, is
Mhm,
this idea of renting out your license and the
mhm,
physician not really being involved
mhm.
and just kind of going along for the ride and receiving fees every month. So that,
Exactly.
yeah.
I love that you said that because that's funny. That's something that I always talk to my mentees about is like, you have to approach this as a business. You wouldn't ask Dr. Gardner, is it freezing up on me? Is it freezing up? You would not ask a
You're
physician
back.
who you're considering partnering with to do you a favor. It's not a favor. You have to present yourself
Yeah.
as a business. And so for me, what I tell them is the best thing to do, and this is something I have them do in my mentorship, is work on you. Create that
Mhm.
portfolio, have that business plan, make it so that it's so tight that they would look crazy to not be willing to work with you because you
Yeah.
have done all the back end and you've done all the homework. So that's what I hear you saying too. It's like, put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Mm-hmm.
say you want this, by the time they come to you, they should have done the groundwork and the
Yeah.
footwork and basically presenting a package that's almost complete. You're just the missing piece.
Exactly. Exactly. And then
Yeah.
it's like one thing to not knowing as a doctor, not knowing anything about the space, but being very curious and figuring it out versus not knowing and just not being as interested about it. You know.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Okay, so if they how what is the process like to work with someone like you? Is it how do you prefer? Would you like want them to have that portfolio and then come to you and schedule a meeting? How do you work your business collaborative aesthetic partners? How do you work that where they can get into your pipeline and you possibly consider partnering with them?
So what I usually do is I have a meeting with them. I have a questionnaire that kind of really wants to tease out whether or not they've already done some of the trainings, whether or not they've been taking the business at component seriously. But
Mhm,
then once we get on a meeting, some of the things that I'm looking for are them knowing exactly what they want to offer.
mhm.
Not just kind of like, oh yeah, I was thinking about doing something. Oh, that'd be a good idea too. Like,
Yeah.
no, like I want you to be specific, knowing like I can do this, this, and this. I
Mhm,
can't do this. This is out of my scope. This is in my scope. I'm also looking at a lot of times I get calls. Sometimes I get calls and people don't know when they're going to open. They haven't gotten any type of solid like this is going to happen and told themselves it's going to happen. So they end up, you know, calling me and then they don't want to open for months. And I'm like,
mhm.
well, I mean, this is a fun conversation, but when are you going to pull the trigger? You know, how
Yeah.
long are you going to kind of get all the information and speculate? Some people will just have paralysis. And so I want people to kind of be past that point and be the best person to call me is the one who's like, no, 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 I already know where I'm going to be. I already got the person across town who's going to give me the lease. I already kind of set this component of my business up. All I really want to do is ask you to be my medical director for these services. That's an idea dream patient, you
Mhm,
know, I mean client. But
mhm.
yeah, that's not always exactly what I end up partnering with, but I can work through some things, you know, but just don't
Yeah.
ask me to do it all, you know.
Right. Right. Understood. Okay, that's a really good. So I hope that provides some perspective. And also those of you who are joining, even if you're live or watching the replay, we have a workshop coming up September the 28th, which Dr. Gardner is going to be in attendance, which is why we're
Hey,
doing this live. So make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, comment growth 2024 and we will send you the information. We have a little over a week and only a few tickets remaining. We do have virtual option available. So make sure if you're on Instagram, comment growth 2024, as well as if you're on YouTube, you can comment growth 2024 and we'll get you the link to that. And so this is why we're having this. So you guys can, I want to kind of demystify this whole medical director collaborating physician.
mhm.
But something I was just realizing that I was saying, Dr. Gardner, is I was talking about medical directors versus collaborative physician. And I want to make sure everyone knows the difference because that those terms sometimes are used interchangeably and they are different. So you guys, if you are an RN
Yeah,
and you need a medical director, that is different from if you're a nurse practitioner or a PA because you are then a provider already. So you need more of an oversight or supervisory role for your medical doctor in some states. That is what we call a collaborative physician. So if
exactly.
you're an RN, you need a medical director. They have more oversight, right? Because you are not able to practice medicine as an RN, but as an NP or PA, you can technically practice medicine. But however, you do need some oversight, and that happens in certain states. So I just want to clarify that so everyone knows the difference. Okay,
Mhm.
Dr. Gardner, I have a question. What qualities or credentials should a nurse or nurse practitioner prioritize? What should they look for in a medical director to ensure that you would say could ensure a successful partnership?
So yeah, I mean, obviously you need an MD or DO,
Right. Right.
but you need one of those two. But then also outside of that, you just want to make sure somebody's been doing trainings. They have some level of training, or they're planning on some level of training in the space. You just don't want it to appear that your medical director is complete has no idea what the the procedures you're doing entail, or what the dangers are with them, or never even heard of it or had a training about it. And that would be more concerning. And so, even if you're thinking to do more procedures, there's always a level of risk to whatever you're doing. So, if anything came up, you would want to be able to defend yourself, and they want to be able to defend their license and say, "Hey, I've done training here. I know what's going on. This happened, but it wasn't because I just had no clue what was
Mhm.
going on."
Yeah. Yeah. And I do find that that is often the case. They think like, oh, well, I've
Yeah.
even had someone ask on a webinar if they could have a veterinarian as their medical director. I'm
Wow.
not lying. I'm not lying, seriously. And I just was like,
Yeah.
wow,
I think that's a
like,
big thing. They try to ask if dentists can do it too.
yeah. It's
Hmm.
very interesting that, but that just lets me know that that's a missing piece of the understanding of why you need a medical director. The whole point is you as a nurse cannot practice medicine. A veterinarian cannot practice human medicine if
Hmm.
they trained in as a veterinarian, right? So I think there's just that disconnect, which is what I try to provide a solution for on my platform, like just to educate. And I agree that there's just a lot of people thinking that they can just bring on any medical director. Now, granted, if they are willing to train or have some understanding of the services, you're good. They don't have to like be
Hmm.
the master
Hmm.
injector in order to be your medical director, but they should have some level of understanding. And I think people don't think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question
Hmm.
is people are nervous about cost. Okay, so we know that. Like they don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
like if I can even afford to bring on a medical director. And I just want, and I don't, I know every state is different, every medical director or collaborator is different, but I would love for you to give just some insight about like the investment to bring on a partner such as a physician or a medical director. Like what would be the insight that you would give based on your experience with working with nurses and nurse practitioners?
Yeah, I think the thing that often kind of gets missed, I think the risk does get missed, because if you look at it, at the end of the day, on the medicine side of the house, you have a professional company that the physician is majority owner. That's standard. That's law. It's how it has to be. And what that basically means is that the practice of medicine portion of things is owned by the physician. So they have to answer to things, answer to the state if things go wrong. They have to be accountable, and that's kind of really the biggest thing that you're paying for. That's one of the biggest things you're paying for. I mean,
Mhm,
it's definitely their expertise, their medical knowledge, those things. That's what you're paying for too.
mhm,
But a big thing that you're paying for is mitigation of risk. And
mhm,
so when you take that into account, that's where a lot of physicians kind of get really nervous about this space, because
mhm,
if you really look at what this industry is, there it's very difficult as a doctor to get training as a medical director.
mhm,
Like there's no place you can just go, www.aestheticmedicaldirectortraining.com, and just understand, like we did when we were getting our training in med school residency, with repetitions and curriculum. You don't have that. So you have to go to these third parties and hope that they gave you enough so that you feel like your risk has been mitigated. But as a risk averse um, society, physicians in general, we don't like to take risk. Like that's
mhm.
literally how we practice medicine. It's
Yeah.
you make sure, A, that you're being safe to the patient, B, that you're being fair to the patient and safe to the patient, and then there is the whisper of C, make sure you are covering all your bases so that
Mhm,
nobody can say you missed something.
mhm, mhm,
So when you look at someone coming up to you and saying, hey, can I give you $1,000 a month and you like put that license on the line? I don't know how to make you feel safe in this, but I promise you everybody's doing it and it can be good for you, you know? That
All
sounds
right.
risky.
Yes, very
Somebody
much
should
so.
go look up some stuff for that, you know? So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying, as the doctor, the state's expecting you to go and look the stuff up and get as comfortable as you can with this stuff because you are at risk when the gavel hits. And you have to do trainings. You have to try to better yourself in the space and get knowledge up for that.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that's really what you're paying for. I mean,
Yeah.
because if you go to the hospital, they accept all the risks. They give you your nice malpractice package and you feel safe, you know, with evidence-based medicine, but it's not the same here.
Yeah. And so do you think, because I've had especially clients and mentees who are like trying to convince physicians to be their medical director. I would love to know your thoughts on that. I'll tell you mine later, but I would love to know yours, where they're trying to
Yeah,
like, convince them to be their medical director and they're really not wanting to. What do you think about that?
yeah. I think it's scary for the doctor. I mean, it's scary for both of them because they're going to go and practice together. But it sounds like I would have a hard time sleeping at night. You know,
Mhm, mhm,
if I reluctantly were doing something, you know,
mhm, mhm,
because I just know that if you're not really all the way in it,
mhm.
I just don't. I feel like it's a recipe for failure. If the doctor is kind of like, well, all right, I'll sign it, whatever, you know, kind of approach.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
just tell me what to sign. Just don't let me hear anything about it, you know, that kind of
Yeah.
approach. I
Yeah.
think it's just a slippery slope. And then the other side of that is whatever specialty they're doing, this is going to pour over into that, you
Yeah.
know. So how you get judged here, you're still on under your medical license, so it can be dangerous. But I don't think it's something that's impossible. I think you just need, like I was saying earlier, you need to be business minded about it. And if the person's serious and they're just trying to learn, then that's different, you know.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I just feel like it shouldn't be forced. Like it
Hmm.
even if you don't know, like say the physician is like, I don't know about it. That's not them being afraid. That's just like them being cautious, which we all should be. But trying to
Yeah,
force somebody who is saying like, no, or even if they give you a feeling like maybe they're not the right person, I think you should run with it because the truth of you shouldn't, try to get them to be your medical director because the truth is even in the society of aesthetics, they're still learning and growing. And so
yeah.
if you're pulling somebody, there's no absolutes in this, meaning like
Hmm.
you can't go to, like you said,
Yeah,
www.startermedspa.com and
yeah,
everything you need is going to be there.
yeah,
Like, we're
yeah,
really figuring this out as we go. And like you don't most likely if you engage with someone like that, you're gonna end up with the short end of the stick because they're gonna bail, right? Because if you start doing research, it gets scary. Like you're looking online and you're like, oh gosh, all this could happen. And like it's
yeah,
really scary. You do your best, of course, but it's possible. We see it because people are out here doing it, but you just have to be willing to do the work. And I don't think somebody who is not interested would be willing to do that. So the best thing is to find somebody who is to save you the headache.
yeah, because they have to prioritize it. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm still working hours over here, you
Yeah.
know, and I have to put this on the forefront of my day, you know, or wherever I know that it's gonna fit and give it time, because the other side of that is it can outpace you, and you
Mhm.
find yourself like in too deep with it. You don't know what's going on, and you haven't had time to really chew on it, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot
So
of things out there.
this is like a kind of light question, but how is it working with nurses and nurse practitioners? What are some things that are you learning like some things about them that maybe you didn't know from working more, at the healthcare in the healthcare system versus working with them as entrepreneurs? What are some things that you say like that you've learned about us working and partnering with us in business?
Yeah, so I think I have a group that of nurses that I work with right now, and they're all so ambitious, and I love it, you know, because they're what it is we're like minded, you know. I can just feel like I really enjoy that they're going off the beaten path and they're not like taking the cookie cutter that we were given even after because
Yeah.
you look at RNs and I'm in California, so RNs here are making more than like most of the RNs in the United States,
Yeah.
and they could
And you're in
really sit
Northern
back.
California. You're in
I'm in
Northern
Northern
California,
California.
which is
Yeah.
definitely more.
Yeah, yeah. And they're like, oh, like I'm working at Kaiser, but I can't wait to stop working there and start my spa. And there are like nurses in nursing school ready to just get a retirement from Kaiser, you know?
Mhm.
And so nothing against Kaiser, but I'm just saying that at the end of the day, it takes a lot to be in oh, you're supposed to be happy here. This is where you arrive. You're a nurse
Yeah.
practitioner. What do you mean? Like you make six figures as a nurse. Like where's the recliner?
Mm.
But you get in the system, you do have a lot of the benefits of what you got into it for. You see the beauty of medicine, but you also see how it can really um, take you away from building yourself and being able to have freedom of time. And so
Yeah.
I know that. That's why I'm here. That's one of the reasons I'm here, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm buying my time back, right? And I'm
Mhm.
trying to preserve it. But the people who I work with in my normal job, they don't know that, they're just on the treadmill, and they have
Mhm.
no end goal. They have no foresight. They're not thinking about anything other than a pension. And that's not who
Mhm.
I'm working with when I work with nurses who are doing aesthetics. They're already ready to go with the idea that they can do something outside of what the machine's telling them they will have and what they can do, and they're just trying to figure out how. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. So
Yeah.
that's the cool part about it, and I love seeing them figure it out little by little and create.
So why did you decide to partner versus hire? Because I've had
Yeah,
that happen where people in my community have reached out to potential medical directors and they are thinking that they're under the understanding that hey, this is my business and I want to bring you in to partner with me, but then they find out that these doctors are like trying to find a way to make them an employee and they're like, no,
yeah.
that's not what I'm doing. So what made you come from that perspective of partnership versus like, oh, I'm just gonna find some nurses to work for me?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts about that because I think partnership um, creates a sense of ownership,
Mm,
and that's
right.
how you get somebody to really, really not only give the patient the best result, but also feel proud about the system that they're in, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, and then the other reason on that is because when I started looking into this, you were super helpful. I came to you like, what is going on? I'm trying to get in space, like,
Yeah.
but that was because it was so hard to find any type of piece of morsel of information. Like it's so hard to, like, whenever I was trying to set up my legal stuff, it felt impossible. Like
Yeah.
everybody was trying to get me for $5 on a minute, and on a second, really. And I want to make that easier for people. you know
Yeah.
I think that that's what I found out when I started this. I found out this isn't easy, and the employee employer dynamic, I think that there's more value in just making this easy. I think
Hmm.
that's all I want
Yeah.
to do, is just
Yeah.
focus on how to make this easy because it's not easy and nobody's out there doing that. Okay, I got my business.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Agreed. I love that. I love that perspective too. And I think that's why your nurses who you partner with are so happy working with you because you, you know, you are different than the rent my license, but you really are involved. You guys make sure you follow Dr. Gardner because you can see on his page he goes and visit his partners who are nurses and nurse practitioners who own their practices. That gets them really invested and it gives you a sense of like I'm doing something right too. And I think people don't, it's not talked about enough, but we're all on this thing just trying to figure it out, right? And so to have someone who believe in you
Yeah.
enough to partner with you, to show up at your openings, and that feels great, right? Especially it
Mhm.
being your medical director. So I think that that's often that the value of that is often missed, and I feel like that's your unique angle that a lot of these other companies just don't have. It's like I'm the doctor type of thing versus partnering. We partner all the time in the healthcare setting. So why
Mhm.
not outside of the healthcare setting? Just seems like a mutually beneficial relationship. Okay, so
Yeah.
my last question, I know you promised me 30 minutes and we were 30 minutes and 22 seconds. So let me ask
Mhm.
this last question and then I'll let you go. Is Are there any red flags or mistakes that practitioners should avoid when bringing on or partnering with a medical director? Is there some red flags that we should know about when we're bringing on or working
Yeah.
with a medical director as a partner?
I think just a like I would never want to tell someone who's trying to figure things out that they are red flag for not knowing, you know.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
if you're working with someone and you've asked them like you know you've had an interaction, they said they were going to try to figure something out, they're not getting back to you. They're poor. It's difficult to contact them. They don't want to give you their personal information in the long run, you know, just email me and we'll work it like that. You know, that would be a red flag because I've heard
Mhm.
of people like having companies where you work through the chat and like the chat doesn't get we'll get back to you within 24 hours kind of
Yeah.
setup. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, if you text me, like I take my license seriously. So I'd be
Mhm.
dang if you have like some text traffic between me. Hey, I have an emergency and I don't talk to you. You don't
Yeah.
get it, you get radio silence. I feel liable, you know, as I feel like anybody should. So to me, communication is a red flag if they're not willing to open up communication with you and
Yeah.
hiding behind the veil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then outside of that, if they're not learning the processes, not necessarily if they don't know them out of bat, but like you should, I should be able to talk to you next time and feel like you learned something. Shouldn't be the same I don't know face when I talk to
Uh-huh.
you, you know? So, like growth, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If
Mhm.
they're willing to grow, they're trying to grow, they're
Mhm.
trying to build, you
Mhm.
know. Now maybe they're not building at the rate or in the direction you want to grow with or grow in. Um, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a red flag as long as they're trying to grow, you know.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with you totally. I have some of my clients, they, meet up with potential prospective, medical directors or collaborators, and they've had this is a red flag. Maybe their license has been suspended, their medical license, and
Oh,
and that's a red flag.
yeah, you need to see licenses. Because with me, I'm going to ask for everybody's license. I want them on the table. Oh
Yes, exactly,
my
exactly.
God. Yeah, yeah.
Super red
Boy,
flag.
yeah. And I mean, even the contracts that we write up, they say if you lose your license, this partnership is terminated.
Yes.
I know what I'm valuable for without a license to any hospital in California. And nobody's going to hire me or
Yeah,
let me come to work. You know, so it's just yeah, it's the basic.
exactly. Exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
Well, Dr. Gardner, it's been 33 minutes, so I do want to be respectful of your time. I would like for those of who are either attending this live or watching the replay to be able to contact you. We do have your on the ticker at the bottom. We have your IG, which is at
Yeah.
Collaborative Aesthetic Partners. You guys, so make sure you go ahead and follow Dr. Gardner. And then, if you guys are seeking a medical director right now, he is in the state of California, but you do have a lot of knowledge, just not just about California, but general knowledge about medical directorship. So for those of you who are attending the workshop on September the 28th, he will be there. You can come with your questions, get to know Dr. Gardner. You can attend this event virtually or in person. I think we only have a few spots left in person though, but you can definitely attend it virtually. Just comment the word growth 2024. We have 8 amazing experts covering medical directorship all the way to marketing your practice if you're interested in launching an aesthetic or wellness practice. And we have injectors who are owning their own business. Some of them have actually been my mentees. So I'm super excited about this event. This is really to encourage those to use your license. That's why it says your license, your choice. It's time to take ownership of your space. Take up some space in the healthcare system. If you're looking to start your own practice, that's what I mean when I say take up space. So, Dr. Gardner, we got you. And you guys, he has links in his bio. So, if you want to go ahead and click the link, if you want to potentially get on a call and see if you are a good candidate to work with Dr. Gardner. I love that you are scrutinizing the people and not just allowing anyone to come and work with you. I think that's extremely important as well, because that also separates you from a lot of these medical directorship programs out there, because they just take anybody. And that to me is not exclusive. And like, I want to make sure that you can think about me, right? And so you guys make sure you go ahead and click the link in the bio for him. Dr. Gardner, any last words or anything you want to say before we head out to those who are thinking, remember they're nurses and nurse practitioners who are thinking about getting into this space?
I say just dream big and, take the path that's unbeaten, the unbeaten path. Don't be afraid of it, and double down on yourself.
Yes, I love that. All right, Dr. Gardner, thank you so much. Thank you all those who are listening on YouTube as well as Instagram. Y'all know I usually don't stream, but I felt like this is important to have on my YouTube channel as well for people who are thinking about launching their practice and also trying to just demystify the doctor-nurse relationship in the entrepreneurial world. So thank you so much, Dr. Gardner. I appreciate you for showing up for us. Guys, 100%. Comment 2024 if you want to attend our event on the 28th. Until next time, you guys. Bye.
Bye.